Okay. Hi, Hanna.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, welcome.
Thanks.
So thank you for agreeing to do this interview with me. And just for a very brief background, Hanna and I are good friends. We've been friends for about 25 years, and we met on a teaching program in Japan. But as you were just saying to me, Hanna, we've never really gone away from each other, right? You've always
Yeah,
been close to my heart, and just it's good to connect with you though now.
yeah. Especially, it's been so long since we've actually had a chance to connect. So this is just, this is great.
Yes, and so just for some context,
Yeah.
I am just exploring spiritually based businesses,
Nice.
and so I'm just starting to, I work with a few like intuitive healers myself in my own life, and I'm meeting new ones all the time. And some of them are even saying, you may want to go into a spiritually based business. Some are saying, not quite yet, like you have some more work to do and then,
Mhm.
you'll get there.
Mhm.
But in the meantime, I thought it would be really fun to explore with my friends and with other people that are doing very interesting things, just what you're doing, and that it could be an opportunity to attract, new clients, or new people may come to your website. So how does all that sound?
That sounds really exciting. I'm just really happy because this is like my first actual interview experience. But more than anything, I'm just thrilled to connect with you, and the interview and everything else is just an added bonus. And I literally leave it up to the universe's hands, and things just happen the way they happen. But when you were just talking about spirituality, because you had sent me this question, what's the spirituality, or is there spirituality in what I do? And I actually just kind of want to start with that if I can.
I think it's great, and
Okay.
but why don't we have you, but introduce yourself first
Okay.
and your business,
Okay.
and then we'll go into that.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, so my name is Hanna Bracken. I live in Golden, British Columbia, up in Canada. So we have a ski town here. So Kicking Horse Mountain is a great ski hill. So a lot of Americans actually come up and ski here. And I got into animal communication about 4 years ago this April. And so I am now a certified professional animal communicator, and I did my schooling with the Gurney Institute of Animal Communication. And I completed my certificate in November of 2017. So I'm new
Great.
and starting this out. So it's really exciting. I'm also now enrolled in the teacher training program with the school. So by next January, we'll be expanding like with the school. So I'll be able to go out and teach introductory weekend workshops for people in Canada, in the US, and throughout the world, wherever there's a coordinator who coordinates the workshop. It would either be Carol Gurney herself, or next year myself coming out to teach animal communication.
Wow, I just got like slight like chills, which I always think is like, spirit
Yeah,
communication, and like,
I agree.
and oh, I'm getting them pretty strongly now. Um, and so maybe I'll get to take a class with you sometime. I would love that.
That would be amazing. It's huge. It's huge work on so many levels. So
So,
yeah.
so great. And what's your website?
My website is www.hannabracken.com. So I don't know if you want me to spell my name or not for people.
I'll put it out underneath this, like when we decide to upload the video, we'll put it in
Okay.
the notes on YouTube, and
Okay.
and that way people can contact you there.
Okay. Sounds
Um,
good. And I'm actually on a second website. I'm on the Gurney Institute of Animal Communication website. So I have my private practice. So I'm talking to you from one of my offices. I have two offices, and the other office is it's in California. I still work out of my house here, but I work with the Gurney Institute as a full associate as well. So people can contact me privately or through the institute as well.
Well, that's exciting. We have so much to talk about, but
Yeah.
let's go ahead and just like dive right into like where you wanted to start, um,
Okay.
which is about spirituality. So tell me about this. What's on your mind?
So what was coming up for me in regards to spirituality is when I first got into animal communication, I wouldn't have thought about it from a spiritual perspective. But the more work that I do, I really do see the spiritual aspect of the nature of the work that I do. And I really feel it is my calling. I have actually been officially welcomed into the animal kingdom, and that happened 4 years ago, June of 2014. I was taking the Module 1 course, and I didn't understand the relevance to the spiritual level that I do now. But at that moment, I was on day 4 of a 6-day module. And I was parking the car, and this one horse was just like pacing behind my car, behind the fence. And I'm like, okay, I'm coming. So I got out, and I just looked at the horse, and I'm like, I'm saying this in my head silently, because animal communication, we communicate telepathically, so we don't have to speak out loud. And I was speaking silently in my head telepathically to the horse, and I'm like, I'm speaking to you right now, and you understand me. And he just looked at me, and he came over and gave me a litlittle pinch,
Oh,
like a
wow.
little nibble. And I looked at my shoulder, and I'm like, you just pinched me. Because I was going to pinch myself, because I can't believe this is real. And then he did it again. And I'm like, you just pinched me again. And then I hear him saying, it's because it's real and you still don't get it.
Oh my gosh.
So I just laughed, and I'm like, I get it. We're talking right now. I said, I am so honored. And I'm like, and you're the horse, or the animal that's welcoming me into the animal kingdom. And with that, he looked at me, he sighed, he stepped away from me, he laid down at my feet. He laid down at my feet on the other side of the fence, and he just let out this huge sigh.
Wow.
And I was like, I was mesmerized. And then I was just like, I can't believe this is happening. And then he like looked up at me again, like, this is happening. And I'm like, I see it's happening. And I was rendered speechless. And then he got up, and he shook himself off, and he looked at me, and he goes, thank you. And he walked away. And I just stood there stunned, not completely comprehending the whole magnitude of what had just happened, but I knew it was extremely significant. And there was only one gentleman who was in our class, and I always refer to him as the Zen cowboy. And he witnessed the whole thing. And when I got to the front of the building to go into the class, he looked at me and he goes, that's extremely significant and powerful.
Yeah.
Because horses just do not lay at people's feet randomly.
That's true. I mean, just even in the part about it coming over and nipping you, and you're communicating with it, and he did it twice to make sure you got it. But then the laying down is like, I've never seen a horse do that.
No. And I just looked at him, and I was like, wow. And then he just said to me, he goes, you're going to go a long way. And we just walked silently into the class. And I remember in that class, I was just so moved and still comprehending what was going on, that I shared the story, and I sobbed when I shared the story with everyone.
Yeah. I feel teary. I feel very moved.
Yeah. And so that's when Carol, who was instructing the course, was saying how she was welcomed into the animal kingdom. And typically, most of us students who are in there, we do have a significant welcoming experience from some animal in the animal kingdom. And sometimes we're not even aware of it at that time. And I've just learned that this is my calling, And the more and more I communicate with animals, the more and more I realize how spiritual this work truly, truly is, because I am finding that they are my greatest teachers, and I hold them in such high regard, and I am humbled regularly.
Mm-hmm.
And they ask a lot, and I'm here to be the voice for them. And they do ask a lot. They ask a lot in the fact of the personal growth that I need to do, the issues I need to look at, and how I equate everything that I need to actually do and become. It's not, I don't know if become is the right word, but they're asking me to be more like them. And animals come from their heart. And as humans, we are born with all heart, and then we learn the spoken language.
Yep.
And as we start learning to speak, that becomes our main form of communication. But before we actually speak, all of us have telepathic ability. All of us are born with it, but it isn't a skill set that's regularly used or encouraged to continue. So that muscle, I would say, kind of gets lax, and we go to our intellect and we go to our brain, and as we get older, our brain develops, so we go to our head. And as humans, we're really a strange species, because we can literally chop ourselves off and be absolutely unaware of our body and of our heart, and just come from the intellect. And animals, really, I find they're here to bring us back to our heart and connect. And they're absolutely incredible. So I
Wow.
should actually, yeah.
Wow, no, I mean, it's really fabulous. It's just so great. And I didn't realize like the depth of this. Like I knew, I could guess that it was providing a service for others, because so many people I know love their animals so much that they're very much like a family member.
Absolutely.
And so I knew that you would be bringing something to people, but I didn't realize the level of what you are getting from it as a practitioner.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that and how deep it really goes, how profound it really is, that it's really about what I heard you saying is like becoming, and I heard evolution,
Yes.
and I feel like with so much of some of the things I'm exploring spiritually, it's about how are we evolving.
Yes.
And at the same time, it's so much about how can we become more heart-centered. And then when you equated that back to, yeah, this is the animal kingdom actually asking us to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, this is actually way deeper than, helping someone who has a depressed animal or whatever. I mean, and that's important.
Yep. But I equate that to, and I'm going to share this little story because for me it's really quite significant, and this is how I also view animal communication and my purpose and my mission is, there's a little boy walking on a beach and it's low tide, and he sees these starfish. I don't know if you're familiar with this. So he's picking up the starfish and he's like tossing them into the sea, right? And he keeps walking and just picking up one, and there's like hundreds of thousands of starfish everywhere, and this little boy just keeps picking up one and tossing it and tossing it. And this old man comes up to the little boy and goes, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Well, I'm saving the starfish." And the man says, "Well, that's pointless. Look how many there are. They're gonna die. You're not gonna make a difference." And the little boy just looks at the man, picks up the next one, tosses it in the ocean, and goes, "I made a difference to that one."
It's great.
And that's how I really see what this is. Like my purpose, it in communicating with animals, I'm also communicating with people. And my purpose is to help bring new awareness and new eyes and deepen the relationship between people and their animals, because information that I share, that their animals share with me, are so profound. Often I move to tears, deep emotion, of joy, of love, of sadness, and often the English language does not do justice for the images or the sensations that I see or feel. And I have to try to put it into English to translate it to the person. And I'm like, oh, this sounds so cheesy. And I wish people could go in my head or in my body to experience what I experience when I connect with an animal. But I do know after those experiences, every person has said to me how much richer their relationship is with their animal, and things that they never thought their animal even paid attention to. I've now heightened that awareness of how aware their animal is.
Wow.
That their relationship changes. And to me, that's where it starts, because now they not only see their own animal different, they actually see themselves differently, and they see animals in general all around us differently. You know, just the birds alone, the squirrels, like they literally see animals differently. And that's my one starfish in the sea.
Wow. Well, yeah, you're kind of like blowing my top here, Hannah. Yeah, this is really great.
Better put a hat on.
Batten down the hatches. Yeah, I mean, so I don't want to go to the skeptical side, because it's like, I personally, obviously, am not skeptical about this. And in fact, I think that, we can communicate telepathically. I don't think it's very honed, as you were saying, because it's not accepted in society. And in fact, it's like debunked or something. People try to debunk it.
Yes, I agree.
But you don't let that bother you.
I did in the beginning. Oh my goodness, in the beginning, I didn't want to tell people that this is what I do, let alone my kids. I didn't want to tell, my kids that, hey, this is, mom's gone off the deep end. She's now talking to the animals, right? But how, I'm going to go all over the place. Like, how did I actually kind of get in here is, I knew I had a skill set in my 20s when I was a massage therapist, and it scared me to the depth and the level that I could go. I wasn't comfortable with it. Like I would massage someone. I was taking a class called I think it was called Healing Hands. And when I get into a zone, it's amazing what comes up. And I remember placing my hand on this one woman's shin. She's wearing clothes, and I put my hand on her shin, and all of a sudden I'm like, I have this quick flash of vision, and I'm like, okay, well, you're this 11-year-old girl, and you have a scar on your shin, and you were running away from these boys, and you were trying to get over this metal fence, and your pants, and you got caught on the metal fence, and you fell, and you have this huge scar on your leg. And she just looked at me, her eyes were all bugged out, and she pulled up her pant leg, and she goes, there's the scar, and that's what happened.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I'm in my mid-20s. That scared me.
Yeah.
So I went back into my head and raised the kids, I'm a kid's stepmom. So, after 20 years, I definitely call them my kids, because they are.
Yeah.
And I went into that mode because I was afraid. And I had a couple other incidences happen again in my 30s, and I was like, oh my God, wow. But I didn't know what to do with it, and I didn't have the confidence. And I was just not comfortable. And confidence, I think, is the biggest thing. And then in this case, how I ended up here is I had a dog. Her name was Mushu, and she was a boxer, and she challenged me like I have never been challenged before by any animal, ever. I didn't realize I'd lost my backbone. And she challenged me and challenged me, and I went to trainer after trainer, and I used to describe her as like, oh my God, this is my autistic dog who has Groundhog Day moments daily and practice random acts of violence. And I had never had a dog like that. But I attribute it to her for making me go outside of the box and find different trainers and different ways and help me get my backbone and my confidence back. And she's the one, her and me introducing the black cat, CeeLo, who was here earlier, into getting me into animal communication. Because when we first brought CeeLo into the house, Moosh was on a mission, and her job was to kill him.
Yeah.
And I knew nothing about animal communication. And I was like, I've always been really dedicated to my animals. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to have to put you in the kennel and we'll ease into this. And really, I went for 2-3 months. She was either leashed to me and he could wander, or he'd be in a room and then she could wander. And it was always like managing. It wasn't getting along. And we were getting better. And CeeLo was laying on a bed next to the fireplace, and she was laying there, and I'm like, okay, I've got you guys 2 inches of each other. We're starting to get somewhere. And out of nowhere, she was the strangest dog that I could not see or predict when she would lose it. It threw me. There was no signs. She would go from 0 to 100 with no warning. And that was one of those moments. And she went to attack CeeLo, and I grabbed her, just quick reflex, and I put her down on the ground, and just out of fear, out of what just happened, I was yelling at her, and I was just like, my God, like, what don't you get? The cat is staying, and so are you, and you two have to get along. And then I was silent, and I stopped, and I looked at her, because she completely melted. And I'm just like, she went from this to this. And I'm just like, what did I just say? I said, the cat's staying, you're staying, you got to get along. And she did. 2 days later, there's no more kennel. And about 4 days later, she no longer needs to be supervised. And a week later, they are sleeping back to back and cuddling. I know nothing about animal communication yet in my life at that point. And I'm just like, you heard me. And I just kept playing that over and over again. But I wasn't ready yet. The universe didn't tell me that, okay, now this is what happened. And then a friend sent me a video of Hanna Bracken and how Diablo, a black jaguar, became renamed and was now Spirit. And it was a video about animal communication. And I watched it, and I was in awe. And then I looked back to my experience with Mushu and CeeLo, and I'm like, I communicated with you, and I didn't know I was communicating with you, and you heard me. And then I started going back in hindsight in my whole life with animals. And you know how some people say, oh, well, you're always so good with animals, or you're so good with kids, but you just take it for granted, you don't understand. So I was telepathically connected unknowingly. I had no idea. But when I go back in hindsight, I'm like, wow, it's actually been a huge part of my life. Mm-hmm. So after that, I just devoured anything I could find on animal communication, and then that's how I came upon the school, the Gurney Institute of Animal Communication. And I'm like, I got to take this course, but I'm like, how am I going to convince my husband that I got to go to California? That's just not going to go over. But I looked at her schedule, and I saw that she was going to Edmonton, Alberta, which is 5 hours north of me. And I'm like, she's coming to Canada. This is her only Canada date. It's in April. This is a sign. So I signed up. And then I saw that she was going to offer a Module 1 course again in Edmonton in June, and I'm like, this is a sign. So I really learned to take signs.
Yes.
And listen to them. That's when I'm open. I mean, I'm still human, and my head still gets in the way, and I miss some things for sure. But yeah, whenever I see the signs, there you go.
Well, I feel like this has been like a perfect interview. And great storytelling. You're a natural. You should do this more often, I think.
That is my dream.
Okay.
That is my dream. So
okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
You'd be great at it. And so, but I only scheduled 30 minutes, so we have 2 more minutes.
Oh goodness. Okay.
But I want to go back to something that you said, which was about how, like in your 20s and even your 30s, you were having some intuitive, some people might call it spiritual, you were having psychic, intuitive connections with your clients as a healer, as a massage therapist.
Yeah.
And so, but you didn't have the confidence to share that, and right. And so I think that's a common theme that I'm wanting to explore in this, like in having a spiritually based business, because, as an empath, like I would imagine, would you consider yourself to be an empath?
Yes. But there's a couple things. I do not consider myself a healer, and I never have.
That's interesting. Say more about that.
Yeah, I would really like to, because that is one thing that I really shy away from, and I don't feel comfortable with that word, because what I honestly feel is I'm more of a conduit.
Yeah.
So I provide myself for
As a
greater
channel.
good to come through and to work through me, and so it's I guess I would almost want to say it's really not me. I'm just connecting on another level and working with that, and then working telepathically with the animals as well, and it just flows. But I would never consider myself or call myself a healer. I save that for people who are I don't know. I don't know. It's not who I am. No.
I got it. No, it's very graceful and like humble of you to be like, it's not me. I'm like, but what would you say? So are you connected to spirit or something, like a higher power? Like, do you define that, or you don't?
I have a quote that I often say, in the light of the light, for the light.
Beautiful.
And that's really what I go by. And the most important thing for me is to remain humble, because this work is humbling.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
Hanna, that's a beautiful place to end it, I think, for now. And I hope we can do this again, because I feel like we have a lot more to talk about.
I would love to.
I think it's a really good start. And thank you so much for your time and your beautiful energy. And I'll go ahead and hit stop on this for now.
Okay.
But I'll be right back just to say goodbye to you in person, okay?
Okay,
Hang on one.
good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.